Padres fans, the hot stove keeps cooking up more bad headlines for the Friars. Let's unpack the latest surrounding this one. Ryan O'Hearn and the ever-present quest to fill first base. What's going on, everybody? Christian Pedersen back with another episode of Padres Digest, the show that is trying to avoid using the term rebuild, given what we still have, but hear me out on this. There are headlines that make you feel like we just don't necessarily actually have the core that we do. I'm going to talk about all of that on this episode, so I want to hear from you guys on that, obviously, so drop a comment. And also, if you want to hit subscribe, it'd be much appreciated. We got content coming out every day, all off-season, all in-season, all year. No matter if you love them or hate them, we will be here talking about the Padres. One of the headlines about the Padres that we got to talk about that I'm queuing up for you here: Padres free agent predicted to land with the Pirates, per Sports Illustrated and a couple of other baseball insiders. Ryan O'Hearn is now being linked to the Pirates, who all of a sudden are having maybe like an existential crisis about losing Paul Skeens the way they lost Garrett Cole, and wanting to actually put a team around him, and whether that's correct spending or doing what the Padres have kind of been doing, apparently, which is like making splashy spins but not big gets in return for it. I don't know. We'll still find out. The crazy thing to me, and I've said this before, is that second sentence in this article here. And as always, I apologize to everybody on a phone if this text is too small. I'm here to read it for you. The second one is, quote, "The Pirates were reportedly very in on Josh Naylor." So the logical transition won't be Alonso or Bellinger, talking about Pete Alonso or Cody Bellinger, but the next tier down, which is O'Hearn. We had Josh Naylor, and now Josh Naylor's like a massively in-demand asset. That's frustrating. But okay, whatever. Let's focus on the here and the now of O'Hearn being linked to the Pirates. How do I feel about it? How do you guys feel about it? I enjoy O'Hearn. I don't, it doesn't seem good faith to bag on the guy who used to be here that's not around anymore and say that like Mike Shildt did him wrong and he didn't give him a fair shake or enough playing time, or it was a bit of a confusing logjam between Luis Arraez and Sheets and Cronenworth and who's really gonna like get the first base DH reps, who's the hindsight always being 2020. It would maybe be disingenuous for me to say that if we had given Ryan O'Hearn a full shake and just been like, great, yes, this guy was a great first baseman all year, we're putting him at first, putting Arraez at DH, we're just getting all these guys, all the at-bats, we're going to make it work. Things may have been better, but here we are. It's the off-season. Padres didn't win a championship. So Ryan O'Hearn, to me, though, has been linked as, like they're saying, next tier down, maybe not biggest free agent ever, but he feels like a solid choice to be an everyday in and out first baseman. He feels like he's a cheaper choice than Luis Arraez was going to be. And although the Padres have said they're not going to be big spenders, I guess I had always considered the likelihood of us being able to spend $12 million on a first base DH kind of bat would have just been there. But maybe it just isn't. Maybe the Padres really don't have double-digit millions to spend on anything, that's where I'm teetering, as I said at the beginning, of like trying to avoid saying the R word, but that feels pretty cash-strapped. And I know new ownership could be a thing. We got other videos on that, so I'm always saying subscribe. Got tons of other stuff coming out, but we can't play the hypothetical, oh, well, new ownership's going to come in and the cash flow is going to, we got to deal with what we currently have. And what we currently have seems to be a problem of not having a direct plan right now as to how to fill first base, because if we're going to lose O'Hearn, here's what the Padres technically list. On the depth chart, Jake Cronenworth is playing the entire right side of the infield. I look, Jake's a dog. I dig it. That's a tall order though, to play both first and second base all season long. I don't know how the batting situation there works. Maybe he hits in two slots, so like we could have him hit like second and eighth or something like that, which might be kind of cool. But on an actual serious note, Padres don't seem to have an incumbent first baseman. Gavin Sheets is an interesting conversation, given that we're talking about Ryan O'Hearn. Let me throw this at you. We don't do many quizzes here, but I will quiz you guys. Actually, I guess I won't quiz you now that I'm looking at the way this graphic's put together. But these are Ryan O'Hearn stats. I was going to do whose stats are whose, and whose stats would you take? But the ball/SD. Realizing now that gives it away. So my bad. Poor production value. You're here for a free YouTube show. You get what you get. I talked myself into liking these numbers enough to wanting to spend $12 million on it. But then this Gavin Sheets numbers. More home runs, more RBIs, 30 points less of batting average. So I don't know if 30 points less of batting average is directly worth 2 home runs and 8 RBIs. Probably not. So in aggregate, maybe not the same hitter, but in the common discourse of talking about baseball, these are the same, like these guys are the same guy, allegedly, hypothetically, numerically, and empirically from what we saw last season. So is Sheets our first baseman now? Is that a bad thing? Then DH by committee? Certainly seemed like out the gates last year, Sheets was like, oh my gosh, he's figured everything out. And then he regressed a little bit to the mean. And there was some, well, we don't love him here because of the stretch he's had against lefty hitters, righties. But like, you look at his numbers, like he is at least at the same as somebody who I was going to consider a competent and worthy first baseman, who other teams are bidding on and allegedly in contact with as a worthy first baseman. So maybe running it back with Sheets at first isn't the worst idea. Again, maybe that's me trying to avoid the realities of what's going on, because if Sheets moves to first and Cronenworth steps up to first, Cronenworth at second, we don't have a DH. Might as well just hit the pitcher. So this is not a video where I'm coming to you saying, oh, Padres, bang, 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 bang. They slot all these guys and everything is actually fixed because we've got a master plan. This is just me saying, like, though, if we lose out on O'Hearn, symbolically it does feel like a that one hurts. But maybe numerically it's kind of the same as the Suarez potentially leaving for the Giants or something like that, where it's like you think it hurts, but then it doesn't hurt because actually we're fine. Maybe feel a little less confident in that because in the bullpen we have Mason Miller and we can be like, oh, yeah, that's going to work out. And here we don't. Like we have 250 hitter Gavin Sheets. Kind of interesting, though. So let me know, what do you think on just the generalities of O'Hearn? Keep him, lose him, better for worse. What do you think about Sheets taking over at first base? Or is there somebody else that you guys want to see at first base? Drop a comment. Let me know. And as always, if you want to hit the subscribe button, much appreciated. Talk to you guys next time.